Depending on my slave master for my ID. Trying desperately to wake up at the end of my leash. Itching for the truth like I'm infected with the fleas. Searching for myself, I have to go and ask Jeeves. It's important that we find out what our nationality. Like, who the heck are we before we hit captivity? Massa cut my father overseas. We were harbored and not as copacetic. Cause the luxuries they offer took the bribe and coincided with the gods that they gave us. Ignorance made us blind. Eyes shut inside our mind. Disconnect the heritage so we won't find out who he is. Forefathers had to surrender so they little ones can live. Innocent blood spilling, raping and killing children. Doing it by the millions, then converted us to Christians. Made us honor their traditions. That's why holidays are wicked. Now we fight inside their armies. Raping, killing, stealing.
Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb?
That's interesting.
As you are right now?
Yeah, all of what y'all saying is so, like I say, it's part of the tapestry, right? If we could weave this together, we will have what I believe is going to be needed at some point, the same way it was needed during the time of Nehemiah, right? During the time of Nehemiah, when the Hebrews were coming back to the land, they had to show that they were descendants in order to have access, right? So at some point, we're going to have to be able to show these things, which is why I continue to press. We have to study to show ourselves approved. But that being said, sis, to your point, Koti Gabor, about Russia knowing, I would submit to you that the world knows. I mean, I'm not talking about the catechumen. I'm not talking about the pawns of the world, but the elite, they know. They know exactly who we are and where we are because they have made agreements with each other to keep this under wraps, right? I mean, know who the Boule are, know who these people are that are a part of this thing. And it's like, I'm not gonna get into this, but I spent about a day. I spent about 18 hours, 12 to 18 hours, just digging a little bit into, what exactly it was that this rap star from Chicago said that caused all of the hubbub for him to be dropped from, Adidas and dropped from all of his companies and all that, and he's no longer a billionaire. I don't care about that. And I don't believe that he's a righteous individual at all. So let me be clear about that. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? Y'all can text it in the room. I'm not going to say it because I'm posting this on YouTube. But I was like, what did he say? What was it? I mean, I need to know at this point. And I had, when it first started bubbling, I was like, I'm not giving it no energy. I'm tired of hearing about him. This dude is a complete and utter narcissist. And he's wicked. So let me just say that. He wicked as hell. But what did he say to cause all of this? And came. And I did some digging. And like, of all the stuff that he said, the Twitter post was the most damaging thing I could find. But even when people quoting what he said in the Twitter post, it's like when you read the whole Twitter post, again, I'm like, where's the lie? Like, where's the lie here in this? Now, if you go into the rest of what he's saying, first of all, you're dealing with somebody who takes sound bites from the echo chamber that's around him, QAnon and the extreme right-wing parties as well, and echoes these things in a sound chamber, but then try to make himself sound intelligent. I believe he's a very creative individual, like Michael Jackson was, like Prince was, and all that. That don't mean him right or righteous. R. Kelly was a musical genius. Don't mean he was a righteous individual, right? He's saying some things that are true, but when given the platform to expound upon and articulate what he thinks he's saying, he sounds like a bumbling buffoon, an idiot, right? And I couldn't help but look at the interview he did with Piers Morgan. I watched that in its entirety. Compared to the stuff they chopped up to share, the stuff they chopped up was bogus because you couldn't hear what he was saying in context. But I listened to the full interview, and what I take away about him is just complete narcissism. It's like, this ain't about us. This ain't about our culture. This ain't about getting the truth out to the people. This is about getting his 15 minutes of fame and setting himself up, as my cousin say, as having his moment on the cross.
You know what I think? I think it's Yah's will, though. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I would agree. 100%.
All things work together for Yah's will. So, yeah, he is rambling like a madman. But whereas the people, you have these people who don't want this information to be uttered.
Right.
Because if it's uttered, then you risk.
And he said it in a megaphone.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you risk people now looking into it. Now how many hundreds of thousands of people gonna look into it just because he said it?
Okay. I agree with that, sis. Use it as a teach moment.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just because he said it. And so now, you know, you're going to have people that's going to stumble upon it because even though he's a bumbling fool, he planting seeds. Because I used the mouth of a donkey.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
And he's one of them. He's an ass.
You know what I'm saying?
But yes.
But yeah, from this, because you have these people. Remember when the Jewish guy stumbled upon the lemmas.
Yeah. The lemmas of Africa.
Of Africa, yeah.
The limbas.
Limbas,
I believe.
And
Toda, limbas.
And he went back to his sorry about that.
Rabbi.
His rabbi.
Yeah.
And he started saying, only thing he said was the lost tribes. And did you see the way that rabbi responded?
Yeah.
No, we don't say that. We don't talk about that. We
don't
bring
look,
it up.
We don't look for them.
We don't look for them.
Yeah.
We don't talk about them. You know what I'm saying? And so, because Kanye West, I said his name, because he is who he is, he was granted a grand platform to say, we are the lost tribe. We are the children of.
He said lost tribes of Hebrew.
Of Jacob.
I'm talking about the last interview I watched.
He said the last one I said. He said the 10 tribes of Judah.
Yeah, we the lost tribes of Hebrew. Bro, stop for a second and study what you're saying and then say it.
But he said it on a grand scale where these people have practiced not saying it at all.
That's true.
Because if you say it, then you put it out there, and now you start something that they can't pull back, and they know it.
And here's the next conversation. That family, Rib always make this quote. She say, "We should be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." But again, I have to submit to you that there is a parallel journey that we can walk with Mashiach, and there is a perpendicular journey that we can walk with anybody else. And if you walk in a journey that parallels anybody other than Mashiach, at some point you're going to cross paths and you will not be walking side by side with Messiah. Messiah was crucified. And Messiah said, take up your stake and follow me. And if what they're saying is anti-Shem, if they're saying it is anti-Shem for me to say that I am Shem, then you're going to have to either deny the Father or Yahusha, or stand on it and say, how am I anti-Shem if I'm Shem? Let's sit down and I'll show you, right? At some point, fam, you're going to have to stand on what you believe. And it's going to be, again, we talked about the division. Kyrie Irving came. The most recent, Kyrie Irving, that's right. Hebrews to Grill. Hebrews to Negro. We did an interview with the guys, if you haven't seen it, Ron Dalton. At some point, the division is going to be clear, just like Moshe telling the Levites, okay, everybody gather around. If you be for Yah, stand over here. If you're not for Yah, stand over there. Simple as that. You know what he told those brothers that was of those Levites that stood over there? Tell me what he said. He said, take up your sword and go over there and slaughter. Right? And he said, this day today, you have been consecrated. You have been set apart by what you have done and who you stood for. At some point, we have to say, what my man say, Dawid Chadiah in that song, I found something I would die and go to jail for. Stand for something, right? You got it.
It's been blowing up, even my family, just things that are being said about this whole situation. But we have to take I submit that we take a broader look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Every time something comes out a little bit, they have to prop it up with a fallen celebrity for us. And the celebrity it's a couple of things that I'm considering. I'm not saying either one of them is the deal, but I don't know if y'all heard the song that he did back in 2012, 2013 called New Slave. Kanye hadn't been the same since then. New Slave. If you go and listen to that song, get it on SNL. And man, what he said to Record Effects and all of these other people, they had to take him down a notch or two. So I feel like when they took him down a notch or two, got him situated, got him, put him with the witch, he gets with Kim Kardashian, all of that kind of thing.
After that,
that way they pull in, they got the seed, right? So the seed is going to come back, the wealth is going to come right back to them, right? And then in order for him to redeem himself, he has to do some things, which in order to redeem himself, he meets with Trump, so on and so forth, because he got to discredit himself from the people that followed him, because he came out with that song talking about the prison industrial complex. Right, so he gets with Trump, all this and everything, and so when I see him doing these different things in 2020, he has a choir. Or 2021, he has a choir. He's praying with a Satanist and with Justin Bieber. Then he comes out with White Lives Matter, and then now you want to come out talking about we the people and everything. So that's one stream to just take into account. The second thing is that I believe that the powers that be know what time it is. And not to be like the old hip hop song, do you know what time it is?
Yeah.
They know what time. And they knew it was coming to, let's go back to 92, 93. Remember when Malcolm X came out, right?
The movie.
If you think back to when Malcolm X came out, they have the scene in there where it talks about Yahusha not being white, right?
Yes, beautiful scene.
What celebrity did they bring out? Because that movie was wildly successful, right?
Yeah.
What celebrity did they bring out to bring us back to Christianity.
Help me remember.
I get you can't touch this.
Really?
That's all of a sudden, your boy, if you go back and look at it,
wow. All
of a sudden, because his rap following was going down because they was pushing gangster rap.
Right.
And he flipped over to
gospel rap.
After the whole he switched over to being a preacher in gospel rap.
I did not know
during that time. He still had a following.
Okay.
If you just, I'm telling you, looking at it. So when the awakening happened, let's look at the last several years, how they've took people and put them in place to try to draw us back to Christianity.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
You had a situation where you got when Fred Hammond and them do something with Snoop Dogg, right? Okay. A couple of years back, all of a sudden Snoop Dogg is talking about God and this and that, you know, trying to bring the younger people, expose the younger people.
Yeah. And
then you get the same thing happened with Kanye they did it, you know, because it was getting hot in the 2018, 2019, 2020. They had to do something. So they had to give these people a platform to steer people back to. So I just feel like he, with all of those things to consider, and having read the Art of War, I see them the Art of War all day long with us. However they feel it. I mean, because I think this backfired, you know, to have him go from White Lives Matter to all of a sudden we the Hebrews, and then he's off script. And I'm gonna tell you, if you listen to Kanye back in the day, prior to 2013, and you listen to him now, it just does not sound like the same person.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Is it before or after the what do you say? President Bush doesn't care about black people.
That was a big changing moment too.
He was still Kanye. That was 2000.
Yeah.
So he was still, and like I say, when you listen to that song "New Slave," I think it came out in 2012, or when I got exposed to it, it was 2013.
Okay.
And but yeah, what he said he was going to do to those guys' wives, and what he was going to put in their mouth, and they had to check him. They had to check him because he was talking. Because think about it, how, you know, you go all them years without an album, and all of a sudden you're a billionaire. You go meet with Trump, and now you're a billionaire.
Well, yeah,
and
so is Jay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there may be something to that. Tim wanted to say something. What'd you got?
I was saying, recently before all this started happening, he released a song called "I Miss the Old Kanye" or "I Miss Kanye" or something like that. Then Kim convinced him to get liposuction, and he came out that surgery. Well, they saying it was liposuction. Then he came out that surgery with blonde hair, meeting up with Trump, and then all this. They chose to be slaves. White Lives Matter. We the children of Israel. It's just like he malfunctioned.
Here's the thing. To the White Lives Matter thing. I listened to him explain that. And like I say, at first I was just ignoring. I'm like, I'm not giving this no ear. I'm not giving this any energy. He being him. He's doing what he's doing. I think he's trumping this situation. And what I mean by that is he's saying any attention is good attention, whether it's negative or bad. Publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. And I think that the mistake in doing that, and I'm gonna just speak for myself, is that by saying I'm not giving an ear to it, what I was still hearing was other people's perspectives and views on it, because I'm hearing the echo chamber. So as I'm scrolling through my social media, which I hate to say I do, but sometimes I do, you know, you get what do you call it? A headline, and the headline is meant. It's like clickbait. Even newspaper headlines was clickbait before clickbait was clickbait. We agree? Okay, so you get the headline, and it's meant to spin you in a particular direction. Either you read the article or you don't, but even if you read the article, you're reading the perspective of the individual who wrote the article, unless they're a journalist in the truest sense of the word. But we don't have many actual journalists around anymore. We have opinion columnists, if you understand the difference. We have opinion columnists, but journalism and being an opinion columnist is two different things. They look very similar in today's society, but it's two different things. So I said, okay, I'm getting too much opinion. Let me see what he actually did. Let me see what he actually said. And I looked up his response to the White Lives Matter thing, and I was like, oh, okay. I get that. Look it up. Look up what he said about that. And I'm not saying it justifies anything that he says or does. What I am saying, though, is that he is not unintelligent. And I think y'all agree with me on that. I do think he's still a buffoon sometimes, a lot of times, but he's not unintelligent. A lot of stuff that he does is not arbitrary. But to what you said, Tima, what he did say in the interview, if you watch the full interview with him and Pierce Morgan, he referred to his managers and his handlers more than once.
Wow.
And he was looking dead at the camera, and the way he said it was as if to say, yes, I understand what I'm saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know the situation I'm in, and I'm admitting to you the situation I'm in for you to hear it out of my mouth. And somebody said, Charlemagne, y'all know who Charlemagne is, radio personality on the East Coast. He said, I'm concerned for him. I still want to make this post. What I'm probably going to do, y'all, is I'm probably going to separate this from our study, and I may post this separately. I think we've been aloof enough about it. We can maybe post it separately. He says, I'm concerned for him because he's talking like somebody who feels like or knows he's not going to be around much longer. And I said, you know what? Maybe something to that. Maybe something to it. And like I said, I'm not uplifting him at all. I agree with what Rib said. Yah knows everything, and everything is done for a reason. Even if he's speaking like an ass, is her reference to Yah speaking through the mouth of a donkey. I think he's an ass a lot of times. But I do think that some truth come out, and because of the audience, the seed is being scattered. Are those who are picking it up, again, fertile soil, and is the Ruach allowed to water? Go ahead, Al.
It's like the so I feel like the overarching message is like what they did with Nick Cannon, checking Nick Cannon, and I think that was all fine, right? Checking Nick Cannon. The overall message is, if you try to come out with this, we will deal with you. Yeah. It's kind of like the movie. They wasn't trying to big up Fred Hampton. No, the message of that movie, the last few seconds, when they showed her stop and stand right there so you can see the cops shoot him point blank. That was the message and the reason for that movie. I
don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to piggyback on what you're saying. I'm going to trigger your trauma. I'm going to trigger your trauma so that you understand the if-then scenario. If you do this, then we do that. You've been warned.
That's right. Right. They did that in Skin. Mm-hmm. They did that in the Nat Turner. Yep. The overarching, even like now, what's the overarching message to us as Black people, Black women? You cannot be successful unless you marry a white man.
I feel like
that's Willie Lynch's 101.
I feel like we need to have another conversation, Ak, and I'm inviting you now. I think we need to have another conversation, you, me, Rib, and Elaine, because you just said something, and I don't want to take this off into another topic that triggered something else that we've been being shown, if you pay attention. And that is that in the marketing and the programming, more and more recently, you don't see Black couples, you see the interracial couple. That is an agenda. And there is an underlying thing being promoted there. I think that that's worthy of a conversation in itself. If you wouldn't mind, I think that's something we should talk about, and record that and put that on for those who want to hear it as well.
It reminds me of what you just read in the scriptures. When the Messiah, he went to grave detail by saying, I didn't come to bring peace. Don't get me mixed up with that other fellow. Yeah. The other fellow that's coming to bring peace and safety to all the world.
Yeah.
I didn't come to bring peace.
Yeah.
So let's make that clear.
Yeah.
I come to divide.
And let's tie that into what you said and what I said. When we're talking about triggering trauma in Willie Lynch's, and if y'all read the Willie Lynch letter, whether it was written by a man named Willie Lynch or not, I always have to add that in there because people who are gonna say, well, that wasn't an actual thing, whatever. We see the ideas being implemented. So in that sense, it's real to me. Part of the triggering of that trauma, all the things that I just pointed out with the movies and the programming, is number one, to the buck, right? To the buck. Here's the if-then scenario. You do this, we do that. Now that we got the buck squared away, to the mothers, you saw how we handled that buck.
Yep.
Check your sons before we have to check them. And you have to then fight. The men have to fight cowardice in the truest sense of the word. Let me strike that. Men have to learn bravery. I don't even want to use the term cowardice because I don't want to trigger anybody. Men have to learn bravery. Women too. Well, I'm talking about men right now. Bravery is not being scared or not having fear. Bravery is overcoming that fear and doing something that you know needs to be done anyway, right? And women have to fight the coatees, overly protecting your sons to the point where you're coddling them and not allowing them to grow to their full potential and be men that can address fear and overcome it. That's another conversation. Yeah, that's what that programming is. When we're watching television, when we're watching YouTube, when we're watching these things, realize that these programs are out there and they are targeted and aimed at particular archetypes, right? And this is the warfare, right? This is the warfare right now. It's not open guns and ammunition. Yeah, there's that also, but the bigger warfare that's being used on us right now is silent warfare. Silent warfare. Again, I always go back to the title of this chapter that I love in Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. Silent weapons for quiet wars. Silent weapons for quiet wars. How do you fight a war you don't know you in? You just listen to the radio. You didn't know you was in a war. You didn't know they was targeting these artists at you with programming that says it's okay to kill niggas, but you can't say in your song it's okay to kill police. One is okay, one is not okay. That's programming. Silent weapons for quiet wars. We done been all over the place. All right, family. Y'all want to add anything else? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut this where we finish up our study, and I'll edit this separate, and I'll share it. I think it's good enough to share. Okay. That's a deep statement. That's a deep statement. Okay. Fear is real. You know, pain is real, like they tell you in the military. So I've heard. I didn't serve in the military. Pain can get you out of a lot of sticky situations. Remind you that you are still alive. Get up and move. You know what I mean? Yep. All right, fam. Much ahava, much love to you all. We're gonna go ahead and close this out, unless anybody else wants to come to the mic. This is a really good study, man. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed you all. Hallelujah. Praise God. All right, fam. Love you.
Shabbat shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom. Enjoy the rest of your Shabbat.
I know I like to follow, but reality is always a colossal pill to swallow.
When you're speaking the truth, they will all hate you, just like they did Christ. Be a beacon of light in the midst of the darkness, when the world has grown cold and heartless. Be a beacon of light.
And you cannot convince me that Israel do not need